Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Dreshfield. I have been in the Salesforce ecosystem since late 2009. I run the Evansville, Indiana Salesforce Community Group, and I also lead the efforts that bring Midwest Dreamin', a Salesforce community conference, to light every year, well, except for the past couple, thanks to COVID. What else about me? I am a Salesforce MVP Hall of Fame member, been an MVP since 2013, which is really kind of cool. And I am currently a product evangelist for Mowgli.
Yes, you heard it absolutely right. The man with the honorary title for life, Hall of Fame, founder of Midwest Streaming. We have Eric Dreshfield with us. I am Kathy Mehta, host of this awesome podcast, and we'll hear the stories and insights from the man himself. There, Eric mentioning about his contributions. So today we sit down with him and take away all the tips and tricks on how to be focused and excel in our career. So, Eric, as you mentioned that you have been in this ecosystem for quite long, do you see any changes in this ecosystem?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've been here so long that to learn about Salesforce back when I first got into the ecosystem, you had to use help and training
Mm,
or Google or meet people that were already using Salesforce.
right,
Trailhead did not exist.
right.
So from that perspective, that's a huge change. Trailhead has kind of made it so almost anybody can learn how to use Salesforce, which is really great.
Right. So, did you had a lot of difficulties while learning at that moment of your time? Because
You
training
know,
was not there, as you mentioned.
yeah, the first job that I got in the ecosystem
Mm,
was as a business analyst helping a company launch the Service Cloud to the contact center that I had previously been working in,
mm,
and I had no Salesforce experience prior to that. In fact, I had never even heard of Salesforce. When my vice president said, "Hey, Eric, I have this business analyst role that I think you'd be perfect for, and can you help us roll out Salesforce?"
mm,
My response to her was to kind of laugh a little bit and to say, "What's Salesforce? I've never heard of it."
mm,
And she's the one who I guess you could say is responsible for not only getting me started in the Salesforce community and ecosystem, but for that push into the community itself.
mm,
She right after she said, "I want you to take this job," she also said, "I really can't afford to send you to training. We don't have the budget for it." So her suggestion was find a user group near me and meet people that are already using Salesforce and learn all I could about Salesforce from people who already have experience that are already using it.
mm.
So so that was kind of like the gentle push of that little bitty snowball down the hill, and it's still gaining speed and still rolling down the hill and growing bigger and bigger all the time.
Right. So you mentioned that you found out in user group. So you also lead one currently. So do you feel any change at like what difference do you feel at that time of how they used to conduct user group and how COVID has changed everything now? So what difference do you feel and how good is it?
Yeah, so back when I first started the user group here, it was totally in person. We didn't even really think about broadcasting or streaming live or anything like that. We're using Zoom or something to invite people from all around the world into these meetings.
Right.
Um, COVID certainly turned all that upside down because in-person activities really stopped. I
Right.
mean, except for very small things, family gatherings of 2 or 5 people were probably still going on, but meetings of any size really didn't happen anymore. So we quickly had to figure out what's a user group meeting look like through the virtual world,
Mm,
and Zoom or Bevy or Google Meet or whatever technology that people had available
mm,
kind of became their platform of choice. And I think what I really saw was it seemed to expand the user group community more. People from all around the country and all around the world started joining in
right.
to user group meetings, regardless of where they were. You didn't have to live in that city to go to that meeting anymore.
Right.
If you found a meeting that had an interesting topic or an interesting speaker, it didn't matter if you were 10 miles away or 10,000 miles away. You were welcome at those group meetings.
Mm. Even I feel that the only thing that COVID has done right for us is having, community meetings online. So we can literally attend anywhere in the world and we can connect to such beautiful people around the world.
Right, I agree. That's definitely the upside to COVID.
Yeah. So, do you also feel any change in today's work life than the one you started working in?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, in my life prior to Salesforce, I everything I did was on site. I worked at a company office, or if I was responsible for things across multiple locations, I'd be visiting those locations all the time.
Mhm.
Um, when I got into the Salesforce ecosystem, the job that I had was basically your standard 8 to 5 ish kind of office job. Um, but then when I got that promotion into that business analyst role, because of where most of the people that I'd be dealing with worked, they weren't physically in the same office where I was. They were across the country in the company's corporate office. My manager at that point in time said, if you don't want to work in the office, you're welcome to work from home. You can work from wherever you want. In fact, I think her exact words were, "I don't really care where you're working or when you're working, just get your job done." And I think fast forward several years beyond that to COVID, and many people have suddenly experienced that. I guess you could call it freedom
Yeah.
to be able to work wherever they want to, as long as they make sure they get their jobs done. And I know a lot of people who have taken that opportunity to explore new cities, even in some cases go to new countries just to live and work.
Yeah.
So, pretty cool thing, I think. Kind of exciting. I mean,
Yeah.
except for the whole downside of COVID and everyone having to be careful where they go and things like that. But it's pretty neat.
Right. It's kind of cool. Even I feel that uh, it's good only in a way. We kind of have more time to spend with family, and we have a work life balance.
Right. Absolutely true. And that's super important.
Yeah. So, what is that you see in the upcoming generations? That is setting the pace, and how will it mobilize the ecosystem?
Yeah, I think going forward, even when assuming we get to the point where people can say COVID's over, I think a lot of organizations and a lot of people are
Hmm.
going to maintain um, that nomadic lifestyle, if I can call it that.
Hmm.
Where people can go wherever they want and work wherever they want, and still feel like they're part of a team, still accomplishing a lot of things on their job or for the organizations that they're representing. And the place where they happen to be doesn't really seem as relevant anymore.
Right. So, do you want to give any advice to the generations that are coming up? How should they enter the ecosystem, or how should they think before entering this ecosystem?
Yeah. So, there's a wide variety of things you can do within the Salesforce ecosystem. You don't just have to be a Salesforce administrator or a developer, or a marketing person. I mean, you can literally do just about anything you want to within this world that we call home, the Salesforce ecosystem. So I guess coming into it as somebody new, um, I would suggest you learn a lot, hit Trailhead a lot, and do the work to gain the badges. Talk to a lot of people. Try to meet as many people as you can, whether that's virtually or in person. Since some in-person events are starting to come back already, which is nice to see. But keep your mind open. Don't just focus on one specific thing just because you think that's where you want to go. You may quickly discover that's not really what excites you once you've found something else. I mean, thinking back to me and my experiences through actual attendance at Dreamforce, the
Right.
one thing I always made a point to do at Dreamforce was to spend some time in the exhibit hall where all the partners and the vendors had their booths set up. And
Mhm.
the reason I really did that was because that gave me lots of exposure to everything else out there in the ecosystem. I would discover tools that solve problems that I didn't know existed. I found some opportunities to utilize some of those tools on some of the jobs that I've worked on, because I didn't realize we had the problem they solved until I saw that particular organization presenting their app and saying, "Hey, here's the issue that we provide a solution for." So I guess to summarize all that, it's simply just keep an open mind and follow your dreams and go wherever you want to go.
Right, right. I'm sure all those points are noted. So, as you mentioned that you were there, you are always presented on Dreamforce. So, when did you last go?
The last time I was in at a Dreamforce in person was 2019.
2019.
Um,
Good. Yeah.
yeah, and the first year I attended was 2011, and I did not miss one during that time period. So I was there every year
Wow.
during that time.
Do you want to share your experience? How is Dreamforce for the ones who haven't, attended in person?
Oh yeah, so there's a few different words that quickly come to mind for Dreamforce. Overwhelming is certainly one. Awe-inspiring is another.
Mm.
Educational, enlightening, super busy. I mean, it's very easy to get caught up in the hundreds of sessions and wanting to do it all,
Yeah.
um, but you can't. So throw that out really quickly. Realize you're probably only good for 2 to 3 sessions a day, plus a keynote maybe, and then some evening activities. Um, but I think one of the biggest benefits to the in-person Dreamforce, I think, is actually the people that you can meet. We all meet people online every day through Twitter, through LinkedIn, through Salesforce community groups, even now. But I think it always comes up when you meet someone face to face and can shake their hand or give an elbow bump or whatever.
Right.
That seems to always take the relationship up to the next level when you finally have physically met somebody face to face.
Mm.
So, I mean, I think I probably stopped going to Dreamforce like in 2016 or 2017
Mhm.
solely for the content, and started going because I wanted to meet all these amazing people that I knew online. So make sure you leave some time in your schedule, I guess is where I'm going with this, when you're at Dreamforce or other in-person events, to actually visit with people. Don't be so focused on content.
Right. So for me, even it's like I feel Dreamforce is like a family reunion, right? Where you learn, where you click pictures, where you just be with everyone you know in this
Yep,
ecosystem.
absolutely true. I agree with that.
You gotta add that word to your list, family reunion.
Right.
So you also have been the founder of Midwest Streaming. So how did it came upon? Like what was the plan behind it?
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, I got into the Salesforce ecosystem in late 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2010, I heard about this event called Dreamforce,
Mm-hmm.
and of course wanted to go because it was all about Salesforce.
Right.
And I talked to my boss about it, and she said, "Well, we don't really have the budget to go to send you." She said, "We're sending our Salesforce administrator and our developer and some members of management." She
Mm.
said, "But if you want to go, we'll let you have the time. You can use it as a work week, but you'll have to pay your own way." And even what that would have been, I guess, 10 years or 11 years ago now, a week in San Francisco was still pretty pricey.
Yeah.
So I couldn't go that first year in 2010.
Okay.
And the way my mind functioned back then, I don't know what happened or why it did it. It just simply said, well, if I can't go to Dreamforce, let's bring Dreamforce to me. And
Ah.
that was the whole thing that started Midwest Dreamin', was I wanted to bring this Dreamforce like event locally to me and anybody else around, who had the ability to come to this conference that maybe didn't get to go to Dreamforce. And that was what started Midwest Dreamin' the very first time.
Right.
It was a challenge at the very beginning to find a place to hold an event
Right.
for what I figured would probably be 100 people, give or take a little.
Mm-hmm.
To reserve an event, you have to, or a space for an event, you have to have some money.
Right.
Otherwise, they're not going to hold the space for you. But
Right.
how do you get money to do an event when you're just an individual and you don't have a company backing you and all that? So that was probably my biggest challenge at the beginning, was finding a venue that was willing to work with me
Mm.
just solely based on a plan and an idea. And I did that. Fortunately, I managed to find a hotel that was willing to do that. And I I was successful. Fortunately, I sold enough sponsorships to pay for the event. I had 100 people, give or take a little, actually show up for the event. That was a full day in May of 2011 in Louisville, Kentucky, and I thought it was really great.
Brilliant,
The
brilliant idea, bringing Dream Post to you. That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, a lot of people enjoyed the event. They talked about it for quite a while afterwards. Um, yeah, the one thing I did quickly learn, though,
Hmm.
personally, was running an event of that size totally by yourself is the wrong way to be able to actually enjoy the event too. So I spent a lot more time making sure that
Everything is
that
on
everything was where it was
sync.
supposed to be, and the Wi-Fi was working and all that kind of stuff.
Right, right.
But I can't help but call it a success just because 100 people actually showed up and enjoyed it and learned some things.
Right.
Um, and then over the next few years, 2012 and 2013,
Mm-hmm.
lots of things got in the way and Midwest Dreamin' didn't happen. But there was still a lot of people talking about it, wondering when it was going to happen again.
Mm-hmm.
And so late 2013, by then I had been a Salesforce MVP. I'd also started a user group locally. And late in 2013, I decided 2014 is the year that Midwest Dreamin' needs to come back to life. So
Right.
I polled some of my user group leader and MVP friends around the Midwest and
Mm-hmm.
said, "Hey, I want to do this thing again. Where should we do it?" And everybody kind of settled in on Chicago as the place to go. And so then I asked for volunteers, found a handful of people that were willing to help me run this event and organize it. And
Mm-hmm.
then in the summer of 2014, we held Midwest Dreamin' again at Navy Pier in Chicago with about 500 people showing up.
Wow.
So it grew quite a bit from that first year into the second year. And
Yeah.
then it became an annual event through 2019 in Chicago with up to 900 people attending in its last year there in 2019.
Wow, wow. That's really, really a story, and that's wonderful. I'm so happy for you. So apart from this, you have also received the title of Hall of Fame. How do you feel? How did you get this?
That's an interesting question. That's
You
a
know,
question I think that a lot of us
yeah,
MVPs
every
get.
trailblazer must be intrigued to know how to get Hall of Fame.
Yeah, a lot of us MVPs seem to get those questions like, what do
Yeah,
you actually do to become an MVP? And
right,
what's it take to become one? And how do you get there? And what are some of the things that I need to do as an individual to become an MVP? And
right.
I think the best answer that I really have for that is just to quote another MVP, Hall of Fame member, Gary Palmatier. And
Mm-hmm.
he once said, if you want to be an MVP, don't try to be an MVP, just be one.
True.
And I think what he was really trying to say was, don't set out becoming an MVP as your goal. Just set out to help other people. Get out there
Right,
and do something that's going to help people learn the Salesforce ecosystem, find new careers, find opportunities. And because of all of that stuff that you're doing, that's going to help other people out of the genuine kindness of your heart,
right.
somebody's going to recognize that and say, "Oh, this guy's MVP material," and
Mm,
they'll nominate you to become an MVP, and then you go through that whole process. Um, but yeah, the Hall of Fame piece of that, Salesforce actually started that a few years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago by now, and to qualify for the MVP Hall of Fame, you had to be an active MVP for at least 5 years. And beyond that, I don't honestly know what Salesforce put in their mind as to why someone becomes an MVP Hall of Fame member.
right,
Um, but it's effectively an MVP for life, unless you do something totally dramatic and drastic that they don't like, and then they will take it away from you.
yeah.
But yeah, I used to joke around about the MVP Hall of Fame when it first came out, that
Mm.
that's where MVPs go to retire. Um, but a lot of MVPs get moved into the Hall of Fame and they don't slow down. They keep up all the contributions they're doing to the community, and in
Right.
fact, sometimes they even step it up and start doing more things. So it's just an incredible honor, even just to be nominated to be an MVP, but to have the award and have that title for so many years that you become a Hall of Fame member is just it's pretty amazing.
Right. Even I strongly believe with the thought that you just got to do, work for the community, and even I feel that MVPs, it's just a swag. I say it like that. It's just a swag for your hard work. That's the way you are being recognized for the work you're doing for the community, because that's the main thing. This is why you're here, right?
Right. Yeah, that's true. And I mean, personally, for me, I kind of feel like most of my career has been built around the community, and the
Right.
people that I met through the community have kind of led to my next job and my next job and things like that. And
Mm,
so it to me, it almost feels like the community gave me this life that I have right now and the ability to support my family the way that I'm supporting them. And so I almost feel like I owe it back to the community to help provide others the opportunity to get a better life for themselves and their family.
right. Perfect. So that's our show. Now, before we go, last question to you, Eric. Describe Salesforce community in one word.
Wow. That's not my answer. That's me thinking. I suppose it could be my answer, but I guess what
Yeah,
I would probably just say is amazing
amazing. Yeah,
for that one word answer.
that's true. It's an amazing, community where we all are in together.
Yep, absolutely.
Again, thanks to Eric for the great tips and information. I thank you all for listening. See you all at the next podcast.